I will take you all through a little bit of background on North Carolina Wildlife Federation programming related to R3, which is retention, recruitment, and reactivation. So this is just a little bit about some of the programs that we have related to hunting in the outdoors. So currently, Academics Afield, the North Carolina Wildlife Federation has partnered with NC State Wildlife Resources Commission and other conservation groups to build upon current R3 programming and introduce college students from non-traditional backgrounds to hunting and shooting sports. And we are specifically having 15 students from NC State participate in this programming for this first pilot year, and we hope to continue this program after the 1-year time period. Getting Started Outdoors is a partnership between the Wildlife Federation and Wildlife Resources Commission to provide an all-day educational workshop and one-on-one deer hunting mentoring opportunities for participants. So basically you spend a whole entire day learning everything about deer hunting, and this workshop is specifically for folks who do not have any experience hunting and do not have a support network. And then for those interested in wildlife and conservation policy issues, the Federation has the CAMO Coalition, which is a listserv to keep members up to date on policy, specifically geared toward hunters and anglers. So you can visit our website at ncwf.org if you'd like to sign up for the newsletter. And Artemis is a program from the National Wildlife Federation that NCWF promotes to uplift women in sporting and conservation. And it's basically to provide small group hunting and mentoring opportunities for females so that people can get together locally with other women and just basically learn from each other and spend time in the outdoors. So it's a really cool program. And the Federation is proud to host this webinar series in conjunction with the New Hill Education and Mentoring Program and its additional partners who are contributing the educational content for all of the webinars, and we're happy to bring this to you all this evening. We do have NCWF volunteers, specifically Guy and Judy Gardner and a few other additional volunteers who partner with Wildlife Resources Commission to provide skills-based seminars consisting of Deer Hunting 101 and From Field to Freezer. So that's for deer processing. So basically how you process your deer from start to finish. And these are open to the public. They usually occur in September, so we will be advertising those. And the North Carolina Wildlife Federation also works directly with North Carolina Hunters for the Hungry, a nonprofit organization, to facilitate the donation of hunter-harvested deer to feed the hungry across the state. All right, and so slide 4, the seminar series was curated by the New Hill Education and Mentoring Program and facilitating partners, which are listed here on the slide. The webinars are for adults new to deer hunting and includes practical topics to explore the ins and outs of hunting and enhance your overall outdoor experience. Please see the New Hill Education and Mentoring Program Facebook page for more information on field opportunities. And this next slide, so I'll provide a little bit of background on our speaker this evening, and then I'll have him introduce the webinar topic. I'm happy to introduce Drew Blake, founder of Action Packer Outdoors, LLC, an outdoor product web store that supplies top quality products to outdoor loving people nationwide, and also creator and co-host of Your Outdoors Chronicles, an online show that focuses on entry-level hunting stories with special attention on kids and military veterans. He is a graduate of NC State, where he received a Bachelor of Science degree in Environmental Technology and Management with a minor in Environmental Science. Drew grew up deer hunting, turkey, small game hunting on both family and public land with his father in the central Piedmont of North Carolina, which inspired his passion for the outdoors and conservation. So let's all welcome Drew and we'll get started.
All right, thank you. So today we'll be discussing hunting tools and gear. There's, as some of you have seen probably already, just Google searching, there's a lot of tools and gear, and pretty much anything that you can imagine hunting wise you can purchase. So what we're going to go through tonight is why gear is important. We're going to specify needs versus wants and what each of those are. And then we're going to go through the gear that you actually do need and try to avoid the gimmicks that are out there that basically try to target the new hunters or the gear nuts, kind of like myself. As was said earlier, I'm a native of North Carolina. I have 20 plus years of hunting and fishing throughout North Carolina on private and public land. I have extensive experience with Butner Falls, Jordan, and Caswell. The founder of Action Packer Outdoors and the co-host of Your Outdoor Chronicles. So the big question here is, why is gear important? There's three things here that tell you why gear is important. The main thing is it gets you where you want to go, and it gets you there safely, and it gets you back home safely. Gear can make or break a hunt, but that does not mean that you need expensive gear. Even quality gear can be purchased at a reasonable price. And my favorite part is hunting gear is just cool. I'm a gear nut and try to collect everything that I can, which sometimes drives my wife crazy. But it's just cool. So what is a need and what is a want? I'm sure by now in life, all of us know what a need is. It's required or essential to do the task that we want. The main thing that everyone as new hunters and even veteran hunters need to focus on first is the need. What do I need to do the job that I want to do? And what do I need to do that safely and get back home? Secondly is, what is a want? A want is the desire to possess something. It's basically something that you don't need, but something that you'd like to have. Those are things that you can accrue over your hunting experience. You don't want to splurge on a lot of gear right up front to where, to be honest, it could drive you away, looking at all of the gear and spending all of that money up front to try to establish a hunting desire. So what gear do you need? Most importantly is clothing. It doesn't have to be top tier clothing, but you at least need clothing to be comfortable outdoors. Secondly is footwear. Then of course, during the hunt, you need gear and accessories for that. You need processing tools and equipment for after the shot, as far as tracking and processing and storing your game that hopefully you've harvested. And you need survival and safety gear. Out of all of those things, clothing and survival and safety gear are the top of my list. They are the most important ones to focus on for me. The big thing about clothing is, as far as deer is concerned, you can ignore the hype of camouflage. Deer are colorblind, so they like to see more. They focus more on movement versus your blending in. I'm sure many veteran hunters can attest, just like I can. I've harvested more deer out of flannel shirts or Carhartt clothing than I have any of the top brand camo out there. Secondly, with clothing, you need to take into account seasonal changes. So build a clothing system. Start with your basic clothing and then work up to your insulation clothing. And then secondly, you need accessories. So like this turkey vest in the bottom middle section. Turkey season's coming up. That's a huge accessory for turkeys. The orange vest over in the side is a briar-proof vest, which is essential for small game or can even be used for deer hunting in deer and rifle season. So where do you start? Again, ignore the hype of camouflage and ignore the hype of scent-proof clothing. As you'll hear through the rest of this webinar series, hunt the wind. Even scent-proof clothing is not scent-proof 100% of the time. There's a big, huge push through major names in the hunting industry to move away from camouflage. As I said, think more patterns instead of color. So wear solid colors, but then break it up with like a small camo vest or some type of vest that has a different pattern, like flannel or something like that. Again, use natural flannels or wool. Wool is a huge insulator. It wicks moisture great and can serve many purposes in the outdoors. The main thing is to think comfort. These last two items come into play simultaneously. You want to be comfortable, so you want loose fitting clothes. When you're going to sit on a stand all day, you don't want tight fitting pants or tight fitting shirts that restrict your movement. You want to be able to move smoothly and quietly and efficiently. So when you're purchasing clothing or when you're looking at clothing, it's important to be able to try it on and see what type of fit you can get out of that particular piece of clothing. Seasonal changes. That's a huge thing in North Carolina. We'll start hunting here in September when it could be 95 degrees, and in January it could be 15 degrees in the morning. So the key thing is to go with a layered approach. No matter what type of season you're hunting in, think with a thin, moisture-wicking base layer, and then work your way out from there. You may have a thinner outer layer that goes over that when you're talking early season bow hunting. Something easy that you can shed, and then just wear your moisture-wicking base layers as it warms up during the day. As you progress through your season, you may add insulating layers, like a vest or a jacket with goose down or wool lining, and then top that off with a thick waterproof or windproof outer layer. Think Gore-Tex or something like that can give you an insulation value, but is more windproof and waterproof. The key is you can wear all the clothes you want, but during the winter, if the wind gets through your clothes, they're pretty much useless. A huge consideration during the winter are complete overalls. So wear your thin base layers and then put on thick overalls such as Carhartt or Dickies mentioned here. Those offer a one-piece solution for you that the wind can only have limited sections to get into. So as long as you put your gloves in over your hands, tuck them into your Carhartts, then your socks and all are secured inside your boots. The only place is around your neck, which you'll have another accessory, or maybe even have a hoodie on under that. So, where do you start with accessories? You can pretty much start anywhere. My main thing is I want to keep my extremities warm. So I'm thinking fingers and my head. So you lose most of your body heat out of the top of your head. If you can find a nice warm beanie or some other type of cap to keep your head warm, those are huge things. You can get lighted beanies. You can get reversible beanies such as the orange and camo one here. And even think about like boonie or brim hats to keep the rain off of you. That way you can have you can hunt during the rain or you can hunt during inclement weather. The next thing that I would start with are gloves and hand warmers. Me personally, I do not like gloves, but a lot of hunters do. I would much rather the hand muff over there on the right, to be able to put my hands in. That way I have full use of my fingers. If I do wear gloves, they're a real thin base layer, and that would probably be, any time below 30 degrees. As you get through the warmer months and the mid months of the season, you want to start thinking about a full face mask, to be able to protect your face itself and not just your head and ears. So during bow season, you're looking for a thin mesh, something to keep the mosquitoes off of you and that can breathe around your face. During the late winter, you'd want more of like a fleece or a wool. Footwear. Like clothing, there are a ton of options for footwear. There's lace-ups or slip-ons. You've got huge selections of socks, and then you've even got tracks options and even accessories for footwear themselves. So when you're talking about hunting footwear, many people talk about rubber or neoprene boots, like the boots along the bottom of the screen here. The main thing people push for those are they reduce your scent. Where in reality, yes, they reduce your scent, but a good rubber-soled boot can be just as efficient. It really depends on what's more comfortable for you. Lace-up boots offer more structure. You can walk more in them. For people with weak ankles, they're great. They tend to be more comfortable, but I would recommend going with a synthetic fabric over a leather. My experience, I found that the leather doesn't breathe as well as the synthetics, and even in an 800-gram insulated boot, those synthetic fabrics can still breathe and allow your foot to cool down when you're sitting on the stand and just breathe, that get more airflow through the boot itself. Your slip-on boots can come in many different styles, from leather to neoprene to rubber. The main thing with those is you want to get a snug fitting boot, but leave enough room for an extra pair of socks. Neoprene would be the top of the line insulator for you, and then again, it's also very breathable during the warm months. Your rubber tends to be louder than neoprene, so that's another thing to take into account. And from what I've found, it doesn't really insulate as well as your neoprene does. Socks and liners. The absolute top thing to remember is to avoid cotton socks. You want wool or a wool blend. Again, they'll let your feet breathe and be able to wick that moisture away. Your socks rely heavily on the type of boot that you're wearing. So if you're wearing a knee-high boot, you need taller socks. If you're wearing a short boot, you may be able to get away with the crew or the mid calves. And then again, you need to think about the weight of the socks. During bow season, you'll start off with a liner sock. Then, as it cools down, you'll bump up to a lightweight, to midweight, and then heavyweight. Depending on your foot, you may not even need a midweight if you have problems with your feet sweating, which is a huge thing. When people think that their feet get cold, their feet actually get cold because their feet are sweating. And when they get to the stand 30 minutes after standing there or sitting there, their body starts cooling down and their feet get cold. What happens is walking in, your feet can't breathe. So you form that heat in your boot, your feet start sweating, and naturally when your feet get wet, they start getting colder. One good thing about neoprene or rubber boots, wearing them in, if I've got a long walk, I'll roll them all the way down as far as I can and allow my feet to breathe. When I get to the stand, I'll roll them back up and climb up in my stand or sit on the ground there. Liners. Neoprene liners can make non-waterproof boots waterproof. Just be sure, again, to choose the right ones if you're walking a long ways, because neoprene liners may not breathe. You want to make sure that you've got a good wicking pair of socks under it. And you may have noticed that I've been saying moisture wicking a lot. I cannot stress that enough. The main thing, when you're walking a lot, you want that moisture to be pulled away from your body to keep you nice and comfortable. If you got really, really cold feet, over boot insulators, they basically just slide over the entire boot after you've walked into your stand, and they're great for hunting extremely cold weather. So gear and accessories. For me, this is the fun part. I don't really like the clothing aspect of it, but tree stands, ground blinds, and any other tools or accessories that you can use hunting, that's what I love to talk about. Tree stands will be covered under its own webinar later on, but we're going to go through a brief synopsis of them. You've got several different kinds as far as ladder stands, which is this one on the far left. You've got hang-ons, which are the 2, 3 in the middle, and then climbers are over in the right-hand corner there by themselves. Each one of them have their own uses. It may be good to practice with some of them to determine what you need. Public land hunting, you'd need a hang-on or a climbing stand, because it's just not feasible to carry a ladder stand in there every time that you're going to hunt. Huge thing with tree stands is always have your safety harness on. I cannot stress that enough to you. Make sure that it's properly sized and snug to fit. They have basic, simple options and then more advanced options. The basic option would be the one on the left. The more advanced would be the hunter safety system on the right, which offers storage pockets and overall is an easier one to get into because the straps are bigger and it's easier to determine where your legs are and stuff like that in there. Tree stand safety harnesses have their own accessories, so be sure to have a tether, a lineman rope, and a tree strap. So your tree strap and leather or tether can be either the one on the left or the hunter safety system black strap on the right. And then your safety system is the long rope in the middle that hangs down from the tree that just in case something happens, you can descend to the ground safely. When you're thinking about tree stands, how do you get your gear up to the tree, up to where your hunting platform is? There's several options here. Basic paracord does a great job. It can be hard to store in your pack because it kind of pretty much goes wherever it wants to. There are auto retracting options, which is the Allen brand on the right hand corner there. And then there's many kinds that are built into the packs themselves where you just carry your backpack up, get up there, and just reach over and the cord is automatically attached to you. The Allen cord could be the same approach. You tuck that into a pocket, maybe punch a little hole in your backpack, and the rope hangs out of it. So that's a good option there for you. Now you're up in the tree. Where do you put your gear? So there's a lot of different hangers. If you're someone like me, I carry a backpack. You'll have a bow or your weapon of choice. You may even have a camera to try to video your hunt. Each one of those needs places to be stored because you only have two hands up there. So you've got your screw-in hangers, which are your simple hooks where you can hang things. You've got your strap-based hangers, which have movable hangers on them to where you can reposition those around the tree. And then you have the complex screw-in hangers that can hold several different things on them. So you've got your bow holder, and then you've got some other equipment holder. You could put your maybe if you had a crossbow, you could put it here, your backpack, however you wanted to set that up, you'd be able to set that up there. Tree stand accessories. I know this sounds weird, but I camo every one of my tree stands. I spray paint them, or I camo wrap them with this wrap on the left next to the camo spray. Not only does it seem to help with the deer not being able to pick it out in the tree, but it also helps conceal it from other hunters that may be walking through the area if you're not there in your stand. Another thing is most of your tree stands are metal. I'm not going to say most. All of them pretty much are metal. It just depends on what type of metal it is. When you drop metal against metal, loud noises can happen. So a good rubberized camo tape is hugely beneficial on quieting that noise. You also have blind fabric to go around single man or buddy stands that would be down in the bottom right hand corner. And then if you have a set permanent stand that you're going to hunt a lot, you could even put this umbrella sunshade up there to protect you from the weather, from the rain and the sun. Next, if you're not a tree stand hunter, if you want to stay on the ground and be somewhat more mobile, there's a huge selection of ground blinds. With ground blinds, there's two things to keep in mind. You have the size of the blind and then the window opening of the blind. Some blinds, the windows are set up for shotgun hunting, while some blinds, the windows are set up for shooting out of a bow. A good example would be the one in the bottom right there with those long triangular windows. They would be perfect for shooting a shotgun out of, or a rifle if you're allowed to. But it'd be kind of hard based on the height of those windows to stand up there with a compound bow and try to shoot through that hole. I'm not saying it can't be done, but it could be difficult. Or if you're looking at the blind on the left, the two holes on the corner there are much lower to where you'd be able to sit and draw your bow sitting down and be able to shoot. With ground blinds comes yet more accessories specific to them. You've got ground blind seats from this Hawk seat here. You've got seats that can attach directly to a tree. And then you've got the traditional bucket seat that pretty much everybody sat on with the rotational seat on the top. Any of these will work. It just, again, depends on what suits your needs and how far you've got to carry these seats in there. A big thing with ground blinds is being steady to shot and being able to have everything there with you. This seat in the bottom right has a built-in tripod. Again, it's not feasible to carry that thing in there every time that you're going to hunt. That's something that you would leave out in the woods on hopefully some private property that you have good control over. The two little S mounts there in the top left-hand corner are bow holders, where you just stab them in the ground and your bow is ready in the ready position for you. And then you have some more tripods to be able to mount your shotguns or rifles on. Again, these aren't needed, but they're good accessories to keep your gear next to you and be steady when you're ready to make that shot. So we touched on some of the gear, but how do you get that gear in there? For me, a good backpack is unbeatable. Like most things, for me, not one thing fits all. I use two of the Horn Hunter brands. So the bottom left-hand corner right here, this is the tree stand pack that is made for tree stand hunters. You can open this top lid and have access to everything. And then I use the middle pack with the arrow mount on it for anything that I've got that I'm planning a long day hunt on. The storage capacity of it is huge, and you can pack extra layers of clothes, a lunchbox full of food, drinks, whatever you need to in there. Then you can go with fanny packs if you're having a limited hunt, just enough to carry in maybe a candy bar or a bottle of water and maybe some calls with you. And then you've got the built-in frame packs in the top right-hand corner, which are more for, I would use those more out west where you're packing in a long ways, or you're planning to pack out your harvest with you. You can use that external frame to carry that weight for you and disperse that weight across your shoulders to make the weight more comfortable for you. Optics. It's hard to beat a good pair of binoculars. With technology now, you don't really need an expensive pair of binoculars to hunt in North Carolina, unless you're hunting over big fields where you're making 500-600 yard shots, which doesn't happen very often. Most of my shots would be within 100 yards, and most of the time I'm trying to glass these animals that I'm after within 150 or 200 yards of me. So I don't need a top of the line set of optics. You can get by with an 8x42 or 10x42 pretty reasonably here, and they're smaller. Being able to carry that in there with you and pack it into a backpack or into a fanny pack can really save you room there. Another good thing is to have, or to keep in mind, is a rangefinder. It's hard to tell a difference between 30 yards on the ground and 30 yards in the tree. So unless you're practicing a lot, judging those different distances, a rangefinder is a must-have to be able to put an ethical shot on something and feel comfortable about it. Over here in the bottom right-hand corner, if you're a type of person that wants to try to film your hunts, this sight in the bottom right-hand corner is what's called an Omega sight, and it's got an auto rangefinder. It's got an 8x zoom, and it's got a built-in camera that records your entire hunt for you. So that's pretty much a built-in package that can go from a bow. You take it off of your bow, put it right on your rifle, set it up, and then it saves the settings between up to 5 different weapons of choice. So supporting gear. This is a huge category here. You can use seats or cushions. Scents, a lot of people use cover scents and attractant scents. Be careful with attractant scents if you're hunting public game lands. That that could be against the law wherever you're hunting at. Calls. You can use rattling antlers, grunt tubes, bleat cans, and any type of other call that you can think of as far as what deer sounds, as far as what sounds deer make. A good thing to always have in your pack are body warmers or hand warmers. I carry a pack of those or a couple packs of those with me because you never know what's going to happen. You could fall into a creek, and if it's really cold, you may not be able to get warm enough. So you need that supplemental heat to try to get you back to your car if something should happen. Wind detectors. For me, that's a gimmick product. I can pick up a leaf and figure out which way the wind blows. But a lot of people like the ease of just being able to reach in their pocket and mash this thing, and it shoots powder or liquid up to figure out which way the wind is blowing. Scent control. So I'm going to contradict what I said about scent-proof clothing. Scent control spray and scent control body wash and all of that stuff. I believe in that stuff. Most people may not, but even if I still use that, I still hunt the wind. It's not it's not guaranteed, because you're going to walk in and sweat, and you can apply scent control all day, and it still may be effective, but it may not be effective. The way that I look at it is, I'd rather have it and hope it's working rather than not have it and know that it's not working. Again, if you're hunting private land, you can use decoys. I would not really suggest that on public land, just from being able to carry that in quietly, and of course having other hunters around the area with you. The grappling hook between the doe decoy and the scent control, I carry 2 of those pretty much every day with me, between my vehicles, between packs, between go bags. Those things, if you're sitting in a tree stand and you get up there and during the morning, you notice that a tree is in your shooting lane. Attach 30 feet of paracord to it, toss it out, wrap it around the tree, pull the tree out of your way. That way you don't have to get down and on private land, get down and cut the tree, or find some other tree to where you have that shooting lane at. Again, I carry that everywhere. I use it for climbing riverbanks out of my canoe, to moving trees, to retrieving arrows that I may have dropped on the ground from the tree stand. It's got a ton of uses there. So we've used all that gear to hopefully harvest an animal. So what do we need after the shot? You need to be able to track the game. You need to be able to transport it, and you need to be able to process it to make sure that you're getting full use out of that game. Tracking options. There's a huge amount of tracking options, and you'll see some of these come back when we talk about how to get into those sites. So you can always carry survey ribbon, the lighted tacks that you see in there, and then they even have thermal trackers or tracking specific flashlights that are able to detect the blood easier for you. The go-to is always a roll of toilet paper. You should always have that in your pack, for emergencies and for being able to start fires, or in this case, track an animal. Just take one little piece off of it, put it where the blood is, hang it in a tree, and it's really easy to see that the white really sticks out in any type of forest cover that you can find. So how do you transport it? there's multiple different ways. You can quarter the animal out and pack them out in your backpack or some other way. If you've got the ability, the game carts are hugely popular. The Hawk cart in the bottom right hand corner's got the 4 wheels on it, and even loaded down with a full grown deer, you can roll that over top of a fallen tree that's 6 to 8 inches in diameter and not have to worry about your game falling off of that cart. Me personally, I like what's called the jet sled, the camo container looking thing in the middle of the screen there. If I know where I'm going, I'll leave that in my truck. And during hunting season, the sled, my tree stand, and anything else that I need stays in that sled in the back of my truck. When I get there, I slide the sled out, get all of my gear, put all my gear on, slide the sled back in the truck, and go hunt. Then I'll walk back out if I've harvested an animal, put my gear down, drag the sled in, and pull the animal out. It's perfect in water and leaves, but not really great in short grasses. And then you've got the harness attachments that you can hook to your tree stand harness, which you should have on you at all times, and that gives you multiple attachment points to be able to comfortably drag that deer out. Game processing. A lot of people may not have the luxury of coming back to a set processing station at their house, so you may have to do it in the field. Think about mounts for your vehicle, or think about gambrels that you can throw up in a tree and be able to hang that animal safely off the ground to where you can work with it. If you don't have that option, or if you don't want that option, tarps work out great. Lay a tarp down on the ground, slide the animal onto the tarp, process the animal on the tarp. That way your meat's not getting contaminated. Ball the tarp up, throw it in the back of your truck or your car, go back home, wash the tarp off, reuse it the next time. As far as actually processing the animal, there's a bunch of different options as far as knives and how you can process it. You can buy processing kits, which would be in the bottom left-hand corner. There's several companies out there that make them. They've got the bone saw all the way down to your gut hook and anything else that you need in there. For me personally, I like a good, strong, fixed-handled knife, like the old-timer black knife in the middle, and then a fillet knife. Believe it or not, the fillet knife, the bubble blade knife in the middle there, is a huge tool when you're skinning a deer, just because of the flexible tip. You can get in there and pull the skin back easy with it, and be able to use the tip to get up in the chest cavity or the stomach cavity and be able to get the tenderloins out that way and really work in there good with the fillet knife. That's a huge recommendation for me, is any type of fillet knife will do. Of course, you want to keep those knives sharp, so you need some type of knife sharpener that's quick and easy. Luckily, there's been a huge advance in knife sharpeners, from the old stone and water or oil to the pocket handheld ready sharpeners that we've got today. So survival and safety. For me, there's two things that go into that. One would be your navigation, how you're getting where you're going, and how you're getting back to your house, or back to your camp, or back to your car. Secondly is emergency preparations and response. In all honesty, that should probably be your first priority. We never like to think that anything's going to happen, but we have to be prepared for the worst. So navigation. you should always have a compass with you. You should know how to read topography maps, terrain features, and even know to listen for human-based sounds. There's several areas that I hunt that only have one road on them, and then they're bordered by a river. So I know if I get to the river, I need to turn around and go the opposite way. I know if I'm walking for a long ways and never find the river, that I need to stop and listen for a car and go back and find my way back to the road where that car sounded, and then I could figure out which direction I need to walk on the road. But again, the big thing is always have a compass. I carry 2 compasses with me. I carry the ball compass with the pin up on the top, and then I carry the compass in the middle of the screen. One, you never know when you're going to lose something, and I never want to lose a compass. I use the ball compass as I'm walking in, it's something quick and easy that I can keep track of. I attach it to my backpack and just reach up and hold it up, and that way I know where I'm going. And then the bigger compass stays in my pocket for emergencies, when I really need to pay attention to where I'm going and need a bigger platform to see on. Luckily, again, huge technology advances. So we've got GPSs now, handheld GPSs, handheld communication devices like the Spot or the Garmin InReach that combine GPS with a way for emergency communication. A key thing to remember is all of us have a phone on us. We have navigation services through it, but if you lose your signal, you lose those services. The same thing can happen with a GPS. There's several places here in North Carolina that you can carry a GPS to and you will lose signal. It just depends on the terrain in the area, the tree cover, and several other factors as far as the GPS and the satellite connectivity. The huge thing for me is all of those devices need to be in some type of waterfront or waterproof storage. The case on my cell phone is waterproof. It's dust proof. It's impact proof. Just in case I fall crossing a creek, I know that phone's not going to get wet and destroyed. Likewise, my GPS is waterproof, but I keep it in a waterproof bin inside of my backpack unless I'm using it. Again, I know it's waterproof, but I want to make sure that it's double waterproof. So I go to that extra measure just to make sure that my emergency rations and my emergency equipment is safe for if I need it. A key point to being able to navigate is a light. Not many people can see during the dark. On a good dark night, you could really hurt yourself if you're not walking around with a headlight. You do have headlamp options to flashlights to spotlights. Your headlamps are hard to beat. They're easy to use. You throw them on your head, or you've got the hat clips there, and they open up your hands to be able to hang your stand or hang your climbing stick or be able to process that animal. But for me, I always carry at least one headlamp and then at least one small flashlight. The flashlight's good for being able to track your game, but it's also a backup for if my headlamp batteries die or something like that. Another key is to carry more than one set of batteries for your lights. What I always try to do is make sure that my headlamp and my handheld light use the same batteries. So if they're double A's, I carry 2 or 3 extra sets of double A's. Triple A's, the same thing. And then the spotlight I always leave in my truck unless I'm doing some other type of hunting other than deer hunting. But a small handheld rechargeable or battery powered flash spotlight is hard to beat when you're looking for an animal, especially when you can't find their blood trail. You can take that spotlight and just shine it through the woods and be able to locate it when you're doing your grid search patterns. And here we're getting back to that tracking thing. These trail markers and survey ribbons not only track game, but they can also be used to get you to your hunting location. For me, a huge negative there is if you're putting these tacks and ribbons in the trees, you're letting everyone know in those woods where you're hunting. That's a good thing and a bad thing. So it's a good thing knowing that they know that you're already in there. But they can also use that to navigate to where you're hunting at and be able to hunt your location when you're not there. For me, if I do need to use those for any reason, I try to stop that at a fair distance away from where I'm hunting, just so that it gets people in the general area, but it doesn't get them to my exact location. So, emergency preparations and response. For emergencies, our emergencies may not only occur in the field or in the trees or in a tree stand or anything like that, but you also need to think about how you're getting there. So your car battery could die. There could be any reasons that your car wouldn't start. You could get a flat tire and then your spare tire be flat. Or you could get 2 flat tires and only have 1 spare. So for me, there's always the rule of 2. 1 is 0 and 2 is 1. So I always know that I have an extra backup. In my hunting vehicle and most of my other vehicles, I have a go bag. That go bag is a dry bag to where the contents will not get wet. In that bag, I have extra headlamps and an extra flashlight, extra batteries, a survival tent, an emergency fishing kit, a multi-tool. I always have a battery, jumper cables, or a starting unit over there. And then some type of food rations and paracord. Your food rations can be as little as beef jerky, or it can be MRE foods or anything like that. But I always try to keep some type of non-perishable food in a vehicle just in case something happens. That should say fire starting device in the bottom. But all of those are key. You can carry most of that with you hunting. So you always have a first aid kit, and you can always carry your fishing kit and matches and extra batteries and multi-tool with you in your hunting pack. But I always have an extra set of all of those in my truck just in case I need them. Again, go bag items. The big thing there on this page is your blister and burn dressings and glow sticks. A glow stick can be incredibly helpful at night to where you're not wasting your headlamp batteries. You crack a glow stick, lay it in the back of your truck, and you have light pretty much all night. And then you've got a set of them to where you can last a couple days where you have good safety light around you. Again, a first aid kit is a must-have. You need gauze, bandages, band-aids, ace bandages, gloves. A tourniquet is huge. You can do a lot of things with a tourniquet to save lives if you can't get gauze or any other bandages. but you can also cause a lot of damage if you don't know how to apply a tourniquet correctly. So I would recommend everyone take a first aid class to be able to not only do self first aid, but to be able to help your hunting partners or anyone in any general person. In my first aid kit, I have a couple. I have a big first aid kit in my truck again, and then a small pack kit that has my gauze and bandages and stuff like that, just enough to get me back out of the woods and back to my truck to be where I can dress that wound the way that I need to. An emergency blanket, some type of way to stay warm if you get stuck out in the woods at night. Again, include one in your go bag, one in your hunting bag, one in your truck. Anywhere that you can think, I would put a safety kit or a first aid kit. Know how to use it. Practice using them. I can think of one scenario, probably the worst scenario that I've ever had in the field. I used to have a bird dog that we practiced emergency response on him. So I'd wrap him in gauze, I'd wrap him in bandages to make sure that he was comfortable with it, hoping that I never had to use it. One day I had to. He was shot in the field, and I had to bandage him up to be able to get him to a vet's office. So it's not only, you don't only have to think about humans, but you also need to think about your companions that are out there with you hunting. Just be able to address them. Animals have their own set of needs, so they need their own first aid kit, and that's a huge thing for safety for humans and for animals. So, in conclusion, what did we discuss? We discussed why gear was important and your needs versus your wants. For why the gear was important, quality gear increases your enjoyment and your experience of the outdoors. Gear breaking or wearing out during a hunt, it doesn't ruin a hunt, but it can increase your anxiety and definitely increases your risk for danger. The big thing is quality gear can increase your comfort level and allow you to stay in the field longer and enjoy the woods at a longer time period and be able to get away and not only harvest an animal, but be able to just get away and relieve some stress and relax outdoors. So needs versus wants. Remember, this is for everyone to decide on their own. Everyone's needs are different. Everyone's wants are different. The main thing is to focus on the immediate needs at this time. So when you get into hunting, you want to focus on your time and your money and build your gear and your camo and stuff like that around where you're planning to hunt, how much time you're planning to hunt, and how much money you have. Focus on the gear that is best for your type of hunting and for you personally. If you can, focus on reuse and repurpose. I've bought a lot of stuff off of Craigslist throughout the days. Facebook Marketplace is now replacing Craigslist, so that I get a lot of gear off of there. And don't buy into the hype. Every year there's a new product that's released that is an upgrade over the one from the previous year. Is it better? Yes. Do you need it? Probably not. That's for you to decide. But every year they have to release a new product to keep the industry going. in conclusion, I'd like to thank everyone and the facilitating partners. I know we went over a lot of information here in a relatively short amount of time, but I do want to remind everybody about Action Packer Outdoors. We offer a huge selection of products to new hunters and established hunters. We offer an experienced staff from across the nation, from Oregon, here based in North Carolina, to Texas, to Indiana. We have a lot of staff across the country that can give you honest feedback and opinions on products. Me personally, I'm always reachable through email or Facebook or Instagram, and I definitely try not to force products on people, but I give them honest reviews and recommendations based on what they're telling me that they're planning to use that product for. So with that, we'll take it into questions now.
All right, that was a lot of fantastic information. And just as a reminder for all of you, we will have this recorded and available online. I know Drew had a lot of pictures of some of the products, so you'll be able to ask him questions now, but you can always go back and flip through the pictures as well. So we have our first question here from Nicola. Go ahead. All right, so if you do have one, just pop back on the list and we'll go down to John. Go ahead.
Do you have a good water purifier that you can carry in your backpack?
There's many out there, but Life Straw is a good one. And I think that's probably the most popular brand. But there are several brands out there that do the same function.
All right, very good. Now we've got a question from Evan. Go ahead, Evan.
Hey, I just wanted to address the Life Straw or the water purifier. I do a lot of backcountry hunting myself, so I personally like Sawyer or Life Straw. I have a Life Straw water bottle with the straw in it, so you just fill up your water bottle and it's got the purifier in it. And Sawyer also makes a brand of that, and then you can get like the Sawyer squeeze packs, which have replaceable water filters. I carry iodine pills as well as backup, just in case. Those are just a few options. You can do a lot of research on that, so I just wanted to just comment on that. Great job, Drew. Just wanted to say hey. So great question, though.
Thank you. I was hoping you would address that, Evan.
Yeah, thank you, Evan. And there's nothing more important when you're in the field and you need some water. So that's very, very good. Thanks for the information. And let's go back to Nicola. Are you on here now?
Hey, can everyone hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, great. Yeah, sorry about that. So I have a quick question. I'm new to the community, and I've noticed it's been kind of a problem. Through research, it seems all the activities are focused on blinds, saddles, and stands. What I'm interested in is learning how to move through the environment on foot, which will require a lot of moving, stopping, looking around, and doing that repeatedly, maybe just covering a few hundred feet, who knows, every hour. So I guess my question is, a lot of the tools you showed, whether seating or the tripods, they look kind of clunky for that approach. Could you speak to the gear someone might need when weight and these kind of constant stops are top of mind, especially perhaps taking off a backpack, getting comfy, and then being able to collapse everything and continue moving on?
So you're talking more of like a spot and stalk type of hunting.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Me personally, I would recommend looking into a turkey vest. They can have quite a bit of storage, but it's comfortable to carry in. A lot of them have a built-in seat cushion that folds down to where you can sit beside a tree. if you are planning to do that type of hunting, I would highly recommend a turkey mouth call, and learning how to use that, just simply clucking or purring, or even a small yelp every once in a while, to use that to cover your sound as you're walking through the woods. Definitely focus on established paths or old road beds on top of ridge tops. And there's several seats out there. Some of them were on the slides talking about blind seats, but the seat's actually strapped to the side of the tree. You can carry it over your shoulder. They're relatively light, within like 2 to 5 pounds, and they strap in, and they're perfect height to be able to sit next to a tree.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, for my focus, it'll be more on deer. How about for mono sticks, bipods, tripods for still hunting? What's your preference?
There's a lot of options out there. I've had good luck with the Primos adjustable bipods or tripods. I do know that people have had issues with them, but that I've had good luck with them. Another one is the Bog company. They make great tripods and bipods to be able to use. The other thing is, I mean, you can make one out of a stick. Just find a stick laying on the ground that has a Y in it for branches, and you've got a monopod and a walking stick right there with you.
All right. And Evan, did you have something to contribute to that?
Yes. I do a lot of, I'm a bow hunter, so I do from time to time do some spot and stalk. They call it still hunting, as they would say, but I typically, if I'm going to go and do some slow walking, I have a foldable little stool that's really small, and I wear a fanny pack that has 2 straps on the bottom of it that I can connect that to. So it allows me to sit in like a bush almost without having to be up against a tree at an elevated stance. And as for something to hold a gun on, I might even just break a stick that's got a Y on it. But they do make some nice monopods out there with a gun attachment to the top of it. So those are like 2 of the things that I do. And with deer, wind is always the most important. Turkeys, it's concealment. So your camo is definitely much more important, obviously. But yeah, you can easily do some creeping around and possibly get some opportunities. Just the biggest part is walking really slowly, like 2 or 3 steps, and stopping and looking, and you just repeat that, and being very methodical in where you take your steps. I have shot and deer that went off the ground this past year on the ground. It does allow you to be extremely mobile, but it can be very challenging as you're on the deer's level. So scent control is probably the #1 thing you want to pay attention to when you're hunting on the ground. So the products that help with scent control, whether that be on your boots, on your clothes, etc., are probably going to be your best friend if you're going to do a lot of ground hunting and sneaking around. That's my 2 cents on it, since I've done it here in the past and I've had some success, but it definitely can be a challenge at times. I think I told Drew this before, I've never shot a deer with a gun from a stand. I've shot them off the ground. That's how my father just taught me to do it, but I hunt deer with a bow in the air just because of how close that you typically have to get. So that's just my walk with the wind in your face, and very slow and quiet. And if you're going to sit down, make sure you clear out everything underneath you so you don't make a bunch of noise, and make sure you're a little bit comfortable so you're not moving around a lot.
Okay, all great information. Thank you for adding that, Evan. Any other questions, comments, thoughts? You guys are a quiet bunch. So we've got just a little bit more time. So if you do want to ask something, now is definitely the chance. All right, we've got Eric. Go ahead.
Yeah, Ken. I was just wondering the scent control, and I know a few meetings back, I think Evan even mentioned like treating your clothes for ticks. Does that affect scent control at all? If you treat it with anything to keep the ticks away?
It can. You want to focus on a scentless insect repellent. Permethrin is a hugely successful product against ticks around here, but it can smell. Pre-treating it, a couple weeks ahead of your hunt, letting it air out on your back porch or something like that, and where it can get natural air is huge. And then storing your clothes in a scent-proof bag or scent-proof container after that treatment and after hanging outdoors is huge for being able to control that scent. But you can also always apply some type of scent killer or some product to hide your scent like that. I always use Dead Downwind, and Camo Dust is another product that actually uses natural soil that's mined. I believe it was from Mississippi or Alabama, but it's got some type of natural scent inhibitor qualities in it, and they pack it into a sock, and you just powder that all over you and reapply it as you need to. But I've had good luck with that, especially on bad wind days. I feel comfortable using that in bad wind and having success with that one.
All right. Any more questions? Okay. Well, we will go ahead and move to the next slide here. I just want to give a special thanks to New Hill Education Mentoring Program and all the facilitating partners. For those of you who attended tonight, thank you, and please watch for a post-webinar email with a link for any materials related to this evening's webinar and a registration link for our next webinar in the series, which is April 13th. We're going to have Brian Paget go over tree identification. So there should be a lot of great information in there. So please definitely sign up and register for that. If you have further questions or need more information on outdoor opportunities, please contact the New Hill Education and Mentoring Program at the link or Facebook page provided. And as Drew mentioned, and also Evan on here, these guys can be reached directly. So if you have a question for them, just send them an email. And also, if you guys want to check out ncwf.org to learn more about the Wildlife Federation and to join a local chapter, we'd love to have you guys. And so I just want to say a final thank you to Drew for his fantastic presentation and for all of you for joining. And be sure to check out Action Packer Outdoors. And we will see you all again in a few weeks.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Have a good evening.
Nice job, Drew. Thank you, guys.